Hey, what's going on everybody? Des here, bringing you another guide type video. This is going to be covering the E set, Unhallowed Essence. I always want to call it Juliana's Essence because I'm used to playing Monk. But this build is the free set for Season 7. And as you can see, it's actually a really good build to be stuck with at the beginning. And, you know, it's definitely not my favorite choice, just because you're a lot more squishy, and I like the playstyle. You have to really be somewhat decent at the game, and resource management is going to be key, especially your discipline bar. Which is why you'll see in the bottom left I do have preparation as part of the build. For every point of discipline I will do more damage, and I'll show you a little bit more when I go over the skills. But I am going to let the gameplay finish out, and I hope you enjoy. It's going to be a lot of dead air because I don't really have a whole lot of music that I can play that I have permission for. And I figure you guys get sick of the same music every single video over and over. So I will talk to you guys in a little bit when I go over the skills. Enjoy the Greater Rift Clear, and we'll talk to you in a little bit. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's go over this gear first and foremost. You're going to start out with the 6-piece Unsanctified shoulders. I really fail at life. It's the Unhallowed Essence set. You have all 6 pieces wearing. Then the very, very most important items you can ever have for this build is Yang's recurve, so you can have your multi-shot attacking 50% faster, and you absolutely have to have maximum discipline as your second stat. And another must-have is Dead Man's Legacy. This will give you up to 100%? Yeah, 100% multi-shot damage. And it can hit enemies below 50 to 60% health twice, which is just huge. And again, max discipline is going to be huge. Any piece of gear that can have max discipline should have max discipline. Like right here, I failed, and that needs to have max discipline on it. Anyways, I will fix that at some point. Next, you're going to have the combo Bashes of Will, Focus and Restraint, and this is going to be very important to actually make sure you're using your primary and secondary abilities. So what this is saying is when you hit with a resource generating attack, so that's your primary right here, it'll give you a buff at the bottom that you may have noticed during the Greater Rift clear. You'll get 50% damage increase for 5 seconds, so as long as you're doing that once every 5 seconds, or on the flip side, a resource spending attack will deal a 50% increased damage for your primary abilities, so that's where your multi-shot comes in. So at least once every 5 seconds, you'll use your Evasive Fire, and that'll give you the extra power for your multi-shot. That's where most of your damage is coming from. And then whenever you need to get your hatred back, just make sure you use multi-shot again after 5 seconds. And another thing about your Evasive Fire, it will proc your Raps of Clarity, which is the next item we're going over. Can have up to 35% damage reduction from your hatred generators. And I think we're supposed to have fire skills. Yeah, if you can re-roll your Raps of Clarity to have fire damage, then that'll be perfectly acceptable. That's what you'd prefer. And your Yang's has fire damage, and I think this might be able to get fire damage on it too. I'm not sure. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, please. Let me know. Next item is going to be Hunter's Wrath. Your primary skills will attack 30% faster and deal up to 60% extra damage. So this belt was pretty much a GG roll. That's actually exciting. Next, you're going to have your Hellfire Amulet. And I couldn't get a great Hellfire Amulet in terms of a secondary or as another passive ability. But we'll go over that more in the skills section, which is very soon. The gems you'll need is Bane of the Stricken, Zay's Stone of Vengeance, which is going to be huge because in order for your UE set to work properly, you need to stay 10 yards away from the enemies to maintain your 6-piece, which, as you see for the 4 set, you gain 6% reduction and 6% increased damage for 8 seconds if there's no enemy within 10 yards of you. So those definitely work hand in hand together. That's basically a must-have for your Zay's Stone of Vengeance. And then Bane of the Trapped, of course, the OP gem of all OP gems. Increased damage against enemies under control pairing effects, and whenever you reach level 25, as you see I haven't even leveled up the gems, that's how scrubby I am. At level 25 you actually gain an aura that will reduce the movement speed of enemies by 30%, so those, obviously work together. That's kind of what the legendary gems do. Alright, so for the skills, Base of Fire, Focus, that's going to be cold damage, but that's not where our primary damage comes from. Multi-shot, as I said earlier, this is going to be your bread and butter. As long as you're using your Evasive Fire once every 5 seconds, this is a huge amount of damage, and it is fire, like I said before. Then Preparation, Invigoration will instantly restore your discipline, and then Vault, Tumble. So whenever you're tumbling, as long as you land, as soon as you land, you're going to hit your Vault again, and it will reduce. Otherwise, it definitely goes a lot faster. Alright, so next, Companion, Wolf Companion. This is kind of a common sense one for any damage build you go with. It will give you 50% increased damage for 10 seconds for you and your allies. And it looks like they changed the passive on them so you don't get the 10% movement speed. Interesting. I'll have to change my skills a little bit. And then Vengeance Seethe, and we'll go over why with the cube here in a sec. Actually, I should have done the cube first. I'm an idiot. But I'm going to keep going with it. I'm not retaking this again. So you're going to use Vengeance Seethe, which will give you 10 hatred per second, which is huge since you're going to be burning through your hatred like crazy. And then in the passives, these are somewhat negotiable depending on what kind of gear you have. You're going to use Call of the Weak for sure, as well as Thrill of the Hunt. Enemies hit by your hatred spenders, slowed by 80%. And Call of the Weak will increase damage against the slowed or chilled enemies. Also, Ambush is another good one to have. Deal 40% additional damage to enemies above 75% health. And Ballistics, this works with your Vengeance, or not your Vengeance, your multi-shot, because it should be firing off rockets. Yeah, you can kind of see them exploding in the background. And then, I don't remember, oh yeah, I got Night Stalker, which gives me additional hatred, which is good. That's why I chose it over the other ones I have. But if I could, I would get a Steady Aim passive, because that'll again work with your UE, keeping enemies 10 yards away from yourself, which will give you an additional 20% damage. And essentially I could get rid of Ballistics for Steady Aim. It might, yeah, actually I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to get rid of, oops, give me Call the Weak back, get rid of Ballistics for Steady Aim. There we go. That's a more definitive damage. All damage that you're doing will be increased by 20, whereas Ballistics will only increase the damage of your rockets, whether, you know, it is 100%, but this is all damage. I don't know. I'm justifying it to myself. Leave me alone. Alright, so since I forgot the cube, this is what I'm going to do now. Dawn must have 65% cooldown reduction, so that way you can have Perma Vengeance. You should be around 37% to get your Perma Vengeance, and that's with a diamond in your helmet. If you get this up to a max diamond, just remember to roll CDR out of some of your gear, so that way you don't go over the cap, since it's completely useless beyond that point. And then this is what I was talking about, Visage of Goons, or Junes, however you want to pronounce that. Vengeance gains the effect of Dark Heart Rune, and the Dark Heart Rune, that's just going to be a damage reduction, 50% damage reduction, so that's huge. And as you saw with the Greater Rift Clear, 55, and I still got one shot by some things where I died very quickly. Then last but not least, Convection of Elements, up to 200% increased damage for 4 seconds. And your biggest damage is going to be done on the fire cycle, which is right after cold. So you could feel a little bit more froggy and wait to use your Wolf Companion until the fire rotation comes up. But it's on such a small cooldown that it should be up every time you need it, pretty much. And let's go to your Paragon points. I might as well spend these real quick. So let's start with the core. Movement speed, you want to be up to the 25% cap. Hatred maxed out, so that way you can, you know, have more hatred for your multi-shot spams. And then Dex. Offense, CDR, attack speed, crit chance, crit damage. And I could be wrong on the stat priorities. I don't consider myself a Demon Hunter expert, but this is what I have noticed works very, very well. In defense, armor, resist all, or vice versa. Life percent, life regen. Cost reduction, area damage, life on hit, gold find. Or you could even, I mean, I'm going to keep the life per hit because you're going to be hitting a lot, so it's going to be healing you. But that is going to do it for the guide, and I just want to say thank you so much for all the views I've been getting lately. Before I'd only get maybe a couple of views, and it'd mostly be myself. But the last several videos I've been getting, putting out, has been getting over 10 views, over 15 views sometimes, and I just want to say thank you. If you could do me a favor, hit that like button and or subscribe, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.